Hello and welcome into the best in paranormal talk radio. This is Beyond the Darkness. I'm Tim Dennison for Dave Schrader, and with me is the lovely and talented and hopefully much more coherent Mallie Fox. Hi, Mallie.
Hi.
That Jericho cruise took it out of me. I just did not have my senses about me. This is a Supernatural News and Parashare Saturday, and we're doing things in reverse order this week. We're going to do tomorrow. We're going to have the show that we recorded aboard the Chris Jericho Rock and Wrestling Rager at Sea. We're going to do the show that featured Mandy Leone, Cheeseburger, and Beer City Bruiser. That show will air tomorrow, as it is a special show that features their paranormal experiences. We're gonna do some supernatural news and some Parashare today, and later on in Parashare we're going to feature some paranormal celebrities, paranormal experiences, along with your paranormal experiences that you've called in to the Voices from Beyond line. That'll happen a little bit later today. Dave is in Green Bay at the Northwoods Paranormal Conference. And evidently, Mallie, I was right about Wisconsin all along. It is a very scary state where they do not want you to have internet, I guess.
Okay.
Right, where no one can hear you scream, I guess.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, don't they say like a lot of serial killers come from Wisconsin?
They do. It's nothing but Packers and serial killers, I guess. Yeah.
I mean, it's no offense to Wisconsin. What do you call them? They're not Wisconsinites. They're Wisconsiners, Wisconsin.
No, it's Wisconsinites.
Oh, I got it right the first try.
Yeah, you got it right the first time.
Yeah, not to insult them. I'm just saying the odds are against them.
And the odds are against you if you're driving alone in the backwoods of Wisconsin, all alone, you run out of gas, and don't eat the sausage. That's what people learn from Ed Gein, I guess, right away.
But they have darn good cheese.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do.
Those cheese barns. Love those cheese barns.
You got to love the cheese barn. So Mallie and I have got supernatural news this week. That's kind of how things are going down. And so once again, Mallie, you've saved Dave's bacon. Because unless
he owes me.
He does owe you. Unless he's being turned into bacon, which could happen in Green Bay yet this weekend. I think he's actually
as long as it's crispy.
Well, that's true. If they make him crispy bacon, then that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what town it is. Is it Bowler? I think he's in Bowler, Wisconsin. It's not quite. It's not quite Green Bay, but I think it's Bowler. I remember.
Okay.
Right. Or Bueller.
Well, I hope he's having fun.
I'm sure he is. By now they probably have an apple in his mouth and he's turning on a spit. I think they're kind of different in that part of the state.
Well, I take it you and I will never be asked to be a part of their Paracon or their paranormal convention.
You think?
Yeah, or I don't think we'll be welcome in Wisconsin at all. How about that?
No, you think? I don't get asked to too many anyway, so maybe that's my problem. Maybe I need to be more lighthearted on the air and not shoot so hard on all these different conventions and states. I mean, maybe if I were a bit more lighthearted and said, I love the people of Wisconsin. Actually, I did in tomorrow's episode. I was quite nice to Wisconsin. So I think today I can be a little more harsh. Yeah.
Oh, nothing but love, though, right?
That's right. We have nothing but love for Wisconsin. Absolutely. We have plenty of stories to get to today, Mallie. So let's start off first in the Gulf of Mexico. You've heard of a sea cucumber, of course.
Yes.
But have you heard of the headless chicken monster?
No, I have not.
Well, it turns out
I have not.
the headless chicken monster has been spotted in the deep sea. It's true. We just got off the Jericho cruise. I did not see the headless chicken monster. Had I seen it.
So this is like the chicken in the sea, right?
Oh, no. Don't go all Jessica Simpson on the deal.
I know, right?
Yeah, it's not quite the chicken of the sea.
Is it chicken or tuna?
It's the headless chicken monster. A sea cucumber, previously only filmed off of the Gulf of Mexico, was seen floating near Antarctica. We go to Melbourne, Australia, and what lives a mile under the sea, it's not SpongeBob SquarePants, has tentacles and fins, and looks like a decapitated chicken. See, I told you that cruise took it out of me. Ready for roasting? Well, it's the headless chicken monster, of course. That is actually the name of a rare creature caught on film this week by researchers working in the Southern Ocean, about 4,000 kilometers or nearly 2,500 miles off of the southwest corner of Australia. The monster actually is a sea cucumber that helps to filter organic matter on the ocean floor and has been caught on film only once before, last year in the Gulf of Mexico. Floored by its unusual physique, scientists call it the headless chicken monster. It's also known as the swimming sea cucumber, the Spanish dancer, and by its scientific name, are you ready for this one? I don't know that I can do this. This might sprain my tongue. Anapineustis eximia? I don't know. I give up. That's as good as you're getting for me tonight. It looks a bit like a chicken just before you put it in the oven, said Dirk Welsford, the program leader for the Australian Antarctic Division, who is among the researchers to spot the animal off the coast of Antarctica. As part of a project to explore the impact of fishing on sensitive marine ecosystems, Dr. Welsford and his team attached a specially designed camera to fishing lines dropped to depths of 3 kilometers or nearly 2 miles. This particular project, Dr. Welsford said, was designed to explore the effects of commercial fishing on 2 species, the Antarctic toothfish and the Patagonian toothfish. Do you know the difference between the Antarctic toothfish and the Patagonian toothfish, Mallie?
No, I don't.
I couldn't tell
I will lose at Jeopardy on this one.
I do, too. I think if both of them bit me in the behind, I wouldn't know either one. Better known to American consumers as Chilean sea bass. There you go.
Okay.
If you ever get asked that on Jeopardy, there you go. The Antarctic toothfish and the Patagonian toothfish are actually Chilean sea bass. There you go. That's your condescending Alex Trebek question for the day. Dr. Welsford said, upon seeing footage of the creature for the first time, we had no idea what it was. Unlike most sea cucumbers, the headless chicken monster has fins which allow it to swim upward to escape predators. From a research standpoint, it's very interesting because no one has seen that species that far south before, Dr. Welsford said, adding that discovering the animal near Antarctica could help scientists understand the species' distribution and how it might be affected by climate change. While sightings of the sea cucumber go back to the late 1800s, scientists have absolutely no idea how many there are in the world's oceans, Dr. Welsford said. It's an amazing reflection of how little we know about the deep ocean. In addition to the monster, the researchers have captured footage of breathtaking species never before seen in the Southern Ocean, they said in a statement. Understanding which parts of the seafloor are home to unique marine life is crucial to determining the best locations for sustainable fishing. Sea cucumbers, for example, play a vital role in filtering sediment, but they are threatened by overfishing. The sighting of the sea cucumber, Dr. Welsford said, showed there was an opportunity to use cheap, compact technology to get a better picture of life on the seafloor. The deep ocean habitat is enormous, and we've done so little research, he said. It's very early days. There you go. Sea chicken. I think I'll order one of those the next time I'm at KFC, just to see what they come up with. Mm-hmm. I'd like to try the sea cucumber if you have one, please. A little bit of headless.
Also known as the Spanish dancer.
Hold me closer, Spanish dancer.
See, and I have tiny dancer in my head, but I'm switching out the words for Spanish dancer.
Oh, there you go. I don't blame you.
Dancing for money.
Yeah, I sometimes sing tiny dancer in my head for no reason. I don't know why. It just happens. We move on. Is a ghost named Bill in the Indian River, I almost said Idiot River, in the Indian River County Jail. The Idiot River County Jail would be just as good, though. We go to Indian River County, where everyone has heard of Casper the Friendly Ghost, of course, with Halloween just having passed. But how about a ghost named Bill? That doesn't quite sound as exciting. A 46-year-old Indian River County jail inmate on October 7th reported to investigators that a ghost named Bill told him to swing a broom at a television to get out of jail. This according to an affidavit. Vincent Foggy is accused of taking a long-handled broom and hitting a flat-screen TV in the jail, damaging the TV. Security footage shows Foggy swinging the broom at a flat-screen TV valued at about $300 on the wall. Foggy said to deputies He was told by a ghost named Bill to swing the broom at the television in order to get out of jail, this according to the affidavit. Rather than being freed from incarceration, Foggy was arrested on a criminal mischief charge in connection with the alleged TV bashing. It wasn't immediately clear whether the ghost named Bill shares any criminal liability. I don't know. If you put your lawyer hat on, Mallie, what would you say?
That's all I would say. Just laugh.
Just laugh? Okay. Let me take a drink here. I think that's worth drinking. Foggy had been in jail following a number of arrests, including an alleged sex offender registration-related violation. There you go. Boy. A ghost named Bill. I think that was a Johnny Cash song, if I remember right.
A ghost named Bill?
A ghost named Bill, yeah. I'm pretty sure. We move on here. Paranormal investigators say an abandoned, is it an Aho hospital, is haunted? It's in southern Arizona. It's AJO. I'm sure I'll get plenty of emails saying, you're the Aho here, Tim, for mispronouncing the name. Southern Arizona is no stranger to haunted hotspots, but a team of paranormal investigators say one abandoned mining hospital is brimming with the spirits of people that never checked out. The historic Phelps Dodge Hospital is nestled in a small town of Aho, Arizona. I'm just going with it because it sounds good, Mallie. Mm-hmm. Plus, I like saying Aho. Sure. This building was the original hospital for the entire mining community of Aho, explained Tony Rathman of Entity Voices Paranormal Investigations. As the mine folded, so did the hospital, but it seems some patients never left. Rathman and his wife, Cherie, explored haunted sites all over the country, but they say they haven't felt anything like the hospital. The first thing we caught in the pediatrics section of the hospital was a baby crying, said Rathman. Of course, we try to dismiss it. Is it a cat? Is it a bird? The sound was undeniably a crying baby. The building has power in only the entry room, leaving the hallways and stairwells pitch black. We have voices, we have comments to our own questions, said Rathman. Does it happen every time? No, but it's more consistent here than in any other location, and that makes it a goldmine for paranormal activity. Other investigators have reported signs flying off the door in various rooms. Now people can check it out for themselves. The couple has opened up the Copper Canyon Paranormal Research Center, allowing investigators of all things haunted to stay in the hospital overnight. We have activity classified as paranormal, above and beyond normal, said Rathman. And how that's happening, those are the answers that we're trying to find. And that's the name of that tune. Mm-hmm. So go ahead and find yourself a good place to sit in Aho and find yourself some paranormal activity. I'm going to get a bunch of mail, I'm sure, saying that's not how you pronounce that at all. I'm sure.
Yeah, it's probably like Aho or...
Aho, yeah.
Aho or something.
Probably Aho, but I'm sitting here calling it Aho, and they're going to say, you're the big Aho here, Tim. I'm sure. You have a story there on your...
It wouldn't be the first time.
What's it? It wouldn't be the first time it'd be called a big Aho? Oh, yeah. No. It happens on a weekly basis, trust me. I get emails, I get comments on social media. I'm used to it by now. You have a story there in front of you there, Mallie?
Yeah, I have a short one. It's regarding Sam Smith, the singer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so he's haunted by ghosts of nuns that are walking up and down the stairs in his house every single night. The Promises hitmaker insists that his North London home, which is an old school, is haunted for sure. He is spooked on a regular basis by noises coming from the staircase, and his sister can feel someone watching her in the creepy abode. He said, we're going to substitute the word for stuff.
Okay.
Every night. Basically, this whole building was an old school called Lion House, and it split into 5 different houses now. I think this was the nuns' quarters, haunted for sure. I hear people walking up the stairs, and my sister feels it's pretty weird. My sister sleeps in there, and she says that she can feel someone watching her sometimes.
Interesting.
So, yeah. So it's either Lion House or maybe the French way of Lyon. Who knows? But
I don't know. Yeah. Either way, I bet you there's an Aho hanging around there. Just saying.
Probably.
It could be.
Oh, man.
That's going to be the secret word. The secret word. It's just like, the old Groucho Marx TV game show. The secret word. Yeah, the secret word is a-ho. That's today's.
Or if you're investigating.
When what?
You're doing like if you're investigating and you're doing an EVP session, you're like, does anyone have anything to say to me? It's like, a-ho.
A-ho. What'd you call me? You call me an a-ho? No, that's the town, you a-ho. Right you are. Could the CBS, KC, or KSEE studios be haunted? Paranormal investigators are searching for some answers there. Halloween is a day when creepy things can happen. Not just spooky stuff, but for me it was nobody gave me candy. They kept throwing healthy stuff in my bag, and it was scary as hell. I'm not going to lie. Have you ever gotten nothing but apples in your trick-or-treat bag, Mallie? It's a kid's worst.
No. Yeah, I've been blessed. I haven't had to deal with that.
They used to just yell at me, "Here, Porky, eat a fruit." I don't know. Yeah, it was terrible. At our CBS 47 and KC 24 building, they had their share of unexplainable things. This is in Fresno, California. A few employees said they heard an eerie woman scream, but no one has been able to figure out where it's coming from. About 2 months ago, KC 24's morning show caught it live on TV. You can faintly hear it in the background. Central California's paranormal investigators and Jackie Harris, a clairvoyant, came to the studios on Wednesday to investigate. If you want to contact the paranormal investigators, you can find them on their website, which is ccpifresno.org, or you can contact Jackie Harris at her website, clairvoyantjackieharris.org, in case you just want to kick it with them, I guess. But you can also go to yourcentralvalley.com and see the video for yourself. So there you go. That's one little interesting tidbit there. Welcome back to Supernatural News Saturday here on the best in paranormal talk radio, Beyond the Darkness. Tim Dennis and Mallie Fox in for Dave Schrader here on a Supernatural News Saturday. Here we go, Mallie. Another word I'm going to blatantly mispronounce for our friends over across the pond. And if they have a problem, they know they can email me. They know they can get me on social media. They can say to me, Tim, why don't you pre-read this stuff? And I'll tell them this. I'm a busy man. I'm on vacation. I'm not even in Minnesota right now. I'm in Florida. I'm looking for Florida man right now. I got bigger fish to fry. By the way, have I told you I've had a few encounters with Florida man this week?
No, get out.
Oh, scary stuff. I even dodged a tornado today here in Florida.
What?
Yeah, it just went right past me, right past Newport Richey. I did.
How are you handling all this action?
Well, it's more action than I'm used to. I know. It's still my little fragile heart, but yeah, it's been exciting here in Florida since I got off the Jericho cruise. I'm telling you. We move on to England here, Mallie. This is good Lord, what do we call this thing here? This would be get ready for I believe this is Croxteth Hall. I think I nailed it.
Ooh, good job.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Many paranormal sightings are reported to have taken place at Croxteth Hall over the years, but is it really haunted? David Quinn, who has been a hall attendant at the historic hall for 39 years, has upheld paranormal claims. The 56-year-old states he has heard footsteps and laughing. Oh, I hear that all the time, Mallie. That's not paranormal. That's just when they leave. When he was the only person in the building, saying his keys may have been moved. He said, I was working one night in the corridors and I heard footsteps. I followed them to see where they went and I heard laughter, but no one was there. I can still hear it now, as can I. That was the scariest thing that had happened to me. But the spookiness didn't end there, as when he returned to the corridor to continue his routine checks, his keys were missing and had been moved behind a radio. The West Derby Hall was the ancestral home of the Molyneux family, and the first part of their home in the present-day L12 was built in 1575. The venue is located in Muirhead Avenue East in a county park setting and is one of the city's most important heritage sites. It boasts Tudor, Georgian, and Queen Anne styles. David, who started working there as a gardener when he was just 16, believes there are supernatural spirits in the study of the building. He added the study is where Lord Sefton's body was laid out for the people to pay respects, and the people still visit, but no dog will enter. Even my dog stayed at the door and showed his teeth before backing away. The hair was stood up on his neck. The incident took place in 2005, and David said his black lab, Dixie, who was good-natured and never barked, was left shaking. Other supernatural encounters included David feeling a waft of chillingly cold air go past while he was changing a light bulb in the corridor. As part of his role at the hall attendant, David has to turn the lights off and check that all doors are closed at the end of the day. He said certain parts of the building feel really cold and quite eerie. When I turn all the lights off, I have to walk down a long, dark corridor in the dark, as opposed to walking down that long, dark corridor in the daytime, Mal. And you don't look back. That area is closed to the public. Although he admits that some of these incidents can be frightening at times, they haven't managed to scare him off. The hall, which is regularly used by ghost hunting groups, is owned by the city of Liverpool after it was bequeathed to the city in 1972, following the death of the 7th and last Earl in 1972. They seem to repeat a lot in this story.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like it, doesn't it?
Yeah, two 1972s. The most recent paranormal sighting recorded took place in 2013 when two people exploring Croxteth Hall said they encountered a short, hideous figure in a cloak in the basement. I'm sorry, I showed up in 2013 in a cloak just to say hey to everybody. They claimed to have seen him again a short time later on a staircase where he vanished. The mysterious sighting was just one of many posted on the Paranormal Database, a collection of historical and recent spooky sightings that have taken place in Britain and Ireland. Other entries at the hall date back to the 20th century and include claims the 6th Earl of Sefton was sighted walking through the tea room and also in his former bedroom. Another person claimed they saw an incorporeal young boy standing by the fireplace in the dining room of the Grade 2 listed building, while other strange shadows have been reported drifting down various corridors. In April of 2009, CCTV footage from the building also reportedly showed a phantom figure moving across the grounds. The 230-room mansion was used as a stately home, but it is now open to the public, and tens of thousands of people visit each year. Visitors are given the opportunity to explore the haunted venue, and the 6'5" Earl of Sefton's bedroom is said to contain photographs of dead hares and pheasants and a pair of his boots. Oh, he was a kinky guy, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Jeez. When asked if he believes that Croxteth Hall is haunted, David said, I didn't believe in the supernatural before I worked there, but it was people's home, and they had happy times there, especially with all those photos. I think there is possibly something in certain parts of the hall. There you go. So what do you think, Mel? Does that sound like a fixer-upper to you?
Kind of.
Kind of.
I'd love to go visit that place.
It does sound like it'd be quite spooky, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Port Gamble is home to Washington's most haunted house. In a setting straight out of a Stephen King novel, a supposedly unoccupied house is making noise and sending shivers down the spines of passerby. We go to Port Gamble, Washington, where when autumn spreads its golden colors through Port Gamble and the sidewalks filled with dead and dying leaves. Oh, it sounds romantic.
They're setting the tone for the story.
They really are, aren't they? There is something new you may sense in the air, a feeling that might make you shiver in the cemetery or scream out loud in what is supposed to be an empty house. Paranormal investigator Pete Orbea says, I do feel a little bit of energy here. Since 2013, he says he has been able to reach across the veil and speak with spirits. He hosts guided tours of the Walker Ames house, once the most expensive home in town and believed to be the most haunted in the state. Orbea says, we call them our long-term residents. They are stories going back years of footsteps. People running on the floor above you, physical touching, disembodied voices, electronic voice phenomena, and seeing historical people walking around in this house. Orbea takes the crew that did this article to the attic, where the children of this house are most often experienced. Investigators have left toys throughout the attic, seen little shadows in the corners, and heard sounds that would seem playful anywhere else. The children have apparently not been left alone. Every 6 weeks, someone reports seeing a figure in an attic window every 6 weeks. People outside during the day shopping in town will see her and go running into one of the shops and ask what's going on in the house, says Orbea. And the house is locked up. It's always locked up. Orbea says it's the ghost of a nanny. We're not sure who she is looking for, but she seems to be looking for somebody, he says. One night on a tour, he got a better look than most. I heard a scuffle in the hallway behind me. I turned around and she was just standing there with no expression on her face, he says. As soon as me and a group of people I was with saw her, she disappeared. But not before someone got this photograph of someone in the doorway. That definitely startled me and made me question why I am doing this, he laughs. Something with a playful spirit seems to reside in this old house, leaving signs it has no plans to leave. The best explanation as to why there is activity up here and all throughout the house would be, I guess, they just love it here so much that they don't want to leave, says Orbea. On Halloween night, you can take a guided tour of Port Gamble. It highlights the town's history with the paranormal, and next month the town hosts its 9th annual Port Gamble Ghost Conference. So there you go. Yeah. Little something to plan your activities around.
Exactly. I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah. You have another story for us there?
Yeah. So Megan, I think is it Mullally?
Yeah, Megan Mullally.
Mullally, yeah, from Will and Grace.
Mm-hmm.
So she tells Busy Phillips that her house was haunted by the ghost of Nicole Brown Simpson. The Will and Grace star, I know, right? So I think this is the first time I've ever heard someone mention maybe that Nicole Brown Simpson's been haunting, the property that she lived on.
Yeah.
But so the Will and Grace star dropped by Busy tonight, where she revealed that it was her husband Nick Offerman's fault that Simpson's spirit was so restless. Busy Phillips welcomed Will and Grace star Megan to the Halloween installment of her new talk show, Busy Tonight. So it's totally appropriate that Megan brought a ghost story with her. TV's Karen Walker was deadly serious in talking about a haunting she experienced years ago with hubby Nick Offerman from Parks and Recreation, and wasn't shy about saying that it was basically all of his fault that the ghost of O.J. Simpson's ex haunted them. She explained that her house was built on the property where Nicole Brown Simpson's house once stood and where she was found murdered. We would, let's see here, she said that we would have in that house, in one corner of the house, like maybe where the bedroom used to be in the old house, sounds kind of confusing, but we would have all of these sounds and weird things all the time, Megan told an increasingly horrified Busy. I would be like, that's Nicole, and she's pissed because Nick doesn't get it. What Nick didn't get, apparently, was much of anything about who she was or the significance of her death. While she didn't say anything implicitly about it, we imagine Nick was off in the woods building a cabin or doing something completely disconnected while the rest of America was glued to that white Bronco going like 4 miles an hour down the freeway for what felt like 6 weeks. Luckily, the story of Simpson's trial had a moment, as it were, recently with the ESPN documentary and Ryan Murphy's miniseries, The People vs. O.J. Simpson, an American crime story. According to Megan, it was only after watching these things that Nick realized, oh my God, this was like a really big deal. Yeah, that's what I've been trying to tell you the whole time, she snapped back at him. And apparently that was all it took, because she said the house was peaceful from that moment on, or at least until a couple moved out of it in more recent years.
Wow.
Yeah. So she thought that Nicole needed Nick to understand what had happened. And then she finally felt understood, so she stopped making her presence known.
That's crazy. Especially, you wonder with someone who's been brutally murdered like that, what it takes for their soul to be at rest, Mm-hmm. And of all people, Nick Offerman. Why Nick Offerman?
Yeah, exactly, right?
I mean, I don't mean to make that much light of it, but, why Nick Offerman, of all people? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And it would
I was unaware that they tore down her property.
I guess I was, too. I didn't know that property was gone.
Yeah, that they built other houses on that property, so.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Very weird. You have one more for us?
Sure. So you know how The Haunting of Hill House is like this huge success on Netflix?
Yeah, everyone's talking about it.
I know, and I'm on episode 5 because I keep falling asleep, unfortunately, when I watch it. It's like late at night. And for some odd reason, horror movies put me to sleep because they relax me.
Really?
Which is quite bizarre. Yeah, isn't that weird?
That's
it's like I get all snuggled.
Uh-huh.
I know, I get all snuggled in and I'm ready for these horror movies, and I just don't know if they just make me happy or I'm so comfortable watching them. Yeah, I usually fall asleep, so I have to like keep rewatching like the first like 5 minutes of these episodes. But
okay.
Yeah, so but the real house that you know how they show the outside of the house in the series?
Yep.
Well, okay, so that's actually a real house, and the owners say that it's actually haunted.
Really?
So Netflix, The Haunting of Hill House may be based on Shirley Jackson's novel of the same name, but the paranormal activity within Hill House isn't all that fictional. According to Neil and Trish, and I'm going to destroy the last name, I think it's Lichty, the former owners of the mansion, subbed in for Hill House in the Netflix series. The bone-chilling scares that viewers have become familiar with actually hold some real-life basis, with the couple claiming the home is actually haunted. Speaking to The Blast, they bought Bisham Manor in 2013 before it was used for filming of The Haunting of Hill House. They said that the home is haunted by 4 or 5 ghosts that caused strange things to happen once they moved into the 11,000 square foot home in LaGrange, Georgia. On multiple occasions, they reported hearing loud music playing from the basement despite no equipment to play music having been installed. Strange smells would also permeate throughout the house, such as a strong scent of tobacco smoke, even though nobody in the home smoked. The spirits eventually upped the ante when they began taking things from the Lichtys, with Neil reporting one occasion when his cell phone suddenly went missing, only to reappear weeks later in that very spot he had last seen it. The couple sold the house last year, but the spirits weren't keen on leaving them be. Once settled into their new home, a winery called Nutwood Plantation, they began experiencing similar paranormal events, including battery-operated candles with no batteries in them, turning on when the clock struck midnight every night, and one event in which 2 of the spirits made themselves seen in a photograph during a couple's wedding on the property. The alleged hauntings may be due to the way in which Bisham Manor where the hauntings began, was built. Newly constructed between 1997 to 2002, the owner at the time chose to leave a single room intact from the original building. They claim that much of the paranormal activity they experienced centered around this one room, claiming that it seemed to be the epicenter of paranormal events. Although they aren't sure who the ghosts are, they said they believe they may have died in another home that used to sit on the property in the 1920s. Bisham Manor eventually went on to be used as the exterior for Haunting of Hill House, a series that is so scary that some viewers have reported suffering from sleep anxiety after watching it. I have the opposite effect, but but yeah, so supposedly the real one is haunted as well.
Weird.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know why I'm fixated on this. What is it about horror movies and shows that make you fall asleep?
I don't know. It's just that I think because I love horror movies, that just puts me in a happy place. And maybe because I'm happy and relaxed, I just kind of just fall asleep. I don't know. It's just weird. But I know people make fun of me all the time because I do. I fall asleep in the middle of them. Well, but it's just comforting to me.
It isn't a thing where I'm making fun of it. But, you know, there is such a fight or flight response as passing out. You know, there's an either or there's something in the middle where people get so frightened that they pass out. You know, it's like an anxiety response, but it's not that.
Kind of like fainting goats.
Yeah, like fainting goats. Exactly. You don't do that deal, do you?
Yeah, where I go stiff, I'm like, ugh.
You don't do that, right? You're not like all of a sudden Hill House comes on and you're like, oh.
No, yeah, exactly. No, I love horror movies, and I think I just get so comfortable, and because I snuggle up and I watch them and I just love them, and then the next thing I know, I'm out like a light. I'm like, well, that sucks, because then now I got to rewatch the, however many minutes. But yeah, and I don't have bad dreams at all.
No?
When I watch the movies, no, because like sometimes they infiltrate your dreams.
Yeah,
I don't have strange dreams. I'm just I'm a happy camper watching them. So it's like my little security blanket, I guess.
Have you ever done that thing where you fall asleep in front of them and you start to dream what's actually going on the television, but it's kind of like they incorporate into the dream. So you're dreaming what's on the television, but you kind of mix it up into the dream. So it's kind of an offshoot of what's happening on the screen. Or am I the only one that does that?
You might be the only one that does it.
Really?
I mean, I have it incorporated into my dream, but that's usually like sitcoms and weird things like that. That's when it like infiltrates my dreams.
Yeah, I've done that quite a bit. I've done that quite a bit. And it's with any random program. If I fall asleep in front of the television, I can incorporate it into my dream, and then I make it some weird offshoot. So, like, let's say I fall asleep to Three's Company. Well, then I end up being in Three's Company, but then I end up mixing it with some sort of slasher flick, and I end up killing Mr. Furley. I don't know. It's very weird. It's just bizarre. Yeah, I probably need to see a psychologist.
You know what I think it is now that I'm thinking about this? I'm like self-analyzing myself. I think it's because my brain doesn't shut off. Like I'm constantly have all these little things going on in my head.
Oh.
And I think because horror movies relax me, all of a sudden my brain just kind of click. It stops all the noises and stuff going on.
Yeah. I think, too, the other thing is, too, if you fall asleep in front of the television, your brain can't fully turn off. Yeah. I think that's why they tell you to put your cell phones down and actually get away from your any device like a television or cell phone or anything where you may watch or have your brain be engaged, because your brain won't fully shut down. Yeah. You won't be able to attain REM sleep that way.
Right. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know much about nothing. I just kind of hypothesize. That's how I live my life, Mallie. I don't know much about nothing. I just hypothesize. That's pretty much what the people who listen to this program get, my hypotheses.
Hey, at least you can admit that you don't know much.
That's right. I'm not going to try and fool you. I don't know much about nothing. I just Google it. That's what you Google
and your Wikipedia.
I Google and I Wiki, and it's pretty much everybody else's misinformation. You're welcome. You're welcome, America and Canada and the people on the Texas-Canadian border.
Yes, exactly.
That's right. This story is a bit unnerving, Mallie. It says here, true horror. My horror of living in former witch's prison where my baby son was snatched from his cot. Violent ghosts pushed friends down the stairs and mysterious pools of blood appeared. Doesn't sound like a great vacation. Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
Victoria Mitchell endured years of torment at the hands of violent spirits, and tonight her terrifying story will be brought to life on True Horror. Dun, dun, dun. Been a while since we've done that deal. Successful saleswoman Vanessa Mitchell bought an adorable Tudor cottage. She never dreamed her life and that her newborn son would be threatened by petrifying paranormal activity, followed by the sounds of smashing glass and crockery. By the way, Smashing Glass and Crockery is the name of my new album. I don't know if you knew that or not. Vanessa sprinted out of the house with a screaming baby in her arms. As she slammed the back door, a grotesque, ghostly face appeared in the glass, twisted with hate. Vanessa Mitchell's eerie story of being terrorized in her home by malevolent ghosts has been brought to life in an episode of True Horror played by Michelle Ryan. In 2004, Vanessa bought the cage in St. Osyth in Essex, but the house had previously been a medieval prison that held witches in the 16th century. These women were brutally interrogated and their children taken away from them before being executed. Initially, Vanessa fell in love with the house and she felt that she had to buy it. She says in the docudrama, "It was calling me, it needed me, it wanted me. I just had to be the owner." She would come to regret that impulse buy for 4 years. Vanessa was plagued by paranormal occurrences and saw 3 ghosts. Even on the day she moved in, Vanessa had doubts, she says. "I knew from day one it wasn't normal and it wasn't right." She initially moved in with childhood friend Nicole Kirtley, who describes the atmosphere of the house as oppressive. She said it felt heavy. It was like walking in jelly. The two women went on to experience all manner of disturbing phenomena, unexplained bangs downstairs, things being moved and ending up in strange places, taps turning on by themselves, doors slamming, gnarled hands creeping across the floor. The brushes, yeah, I know, right? The brushes above the fireplace swinging with no wind, and the appearance of ghosts. On one particularly terrifying day, Vanessa witnessed a tall, dark figure appear in the hallway before dissolving into thick black smoke that oozed its way into the living room. This wasn't at night. It was a warm spring day, she says. I believed it wanted me to see it, like it had moved into its house. One of Nicole's more disturbing memories is of seeing something moving on the floor near a rug. When the two women moved the rug, the floor underneath was a carpet of writhing white maggots.
Oh, God.
Ugh. Friends who had been invited to the house would point out to Vanessa that there was blood splatters on the tiles, and she would find sticky, viscous pools of dark blood staining the floor. There was no explanation for where it had come from. Vanessa's friend Mikey O'Connell had his own paranormal experience in the cage. While fixing an overhead light, Mikey was pushed by the shoulders and violently dragged down the stairs, leaving Vanessa in no doubt that the spirits infesting her house meant the living harm. But nothing could prepare Vanessa for what happened when her son was born. By the time Jesse was born in December of 2007, Nicole had moved out, and Vanessa was completely isolated, trapped in a haunted house with a new baby. Friends couldn't bear to be in the house and made excuses to not come around. Although Vanessa attempted to have the house cleansed by a priest, it made no difference, and she would cower in the corner of the bedroom with her wailing newborn clutched to her chest as the door violently rattled and shook. Something unnatural was trying to force its way in, but when the door finally swung open, there was nothing on the other side. Vanessa was so petrified that she would use a potty she kept under the bed instead of going to the bathroom, and she would never cook in the kitchen. She would keep the lamps, the lights, and the television on at night and would barely sleep. When her son would scream uncontrollably, Vanessa says, I thought he could see something in the room that I couldn't. I could feel something. It was evil, it was malevolent, and it was bad. On one occasion, when she left Jesse in a room before returning 5 minutes later to discover his basket was gone, something or someone had placed it outside the back door. Teetering on the brink of madness, Vanessa says, there were times when I felt that it was me or the house. The final straw came when Vanessa left Jesse upstairs in his cot while she went to iron a couple of items of clothing. In front of her eyes, Jesse's toys began to move towards her across the floor, and she heard him scream from upstairs. Vanessa ran to the stairs and saw a ghostly figure move into the bedroom and lock the door. When she finally reached her son, who had been moved from his cot to the bed, Vanessa snatched him up and bolted for the back door. Outside the house, Jesse immediately stopped crying. Written and directed by Amanda Boyle, whose credits include teen drama Skins and Misfits, true horror The Witch's Prison is guaranteed to chill viewers. Boyle told Sun Online when we first went in, the cameraman said, there's really a weird feeling in here, and we all felt it. It's a very small house, and it's got a very odd atmosphere. We filmed one bit at night in the real cage, and we were quite glad when that was over. For me, the interesting bit is that the real story of the witches, it's an area that's rich with history, and that's fascinating to look at. There's really something other about the Essex countryside where you've got the mist coming off the sea. Speaking about Vanessa, Boyle said the house has definitely got some kind of hold on her. She can't sell it for obvious reasons, and she doesn't want to either. One of the reasons why I think she's so convincing is that she doesn't burst into tears or break down. She's quite matter-of-fact about these things that have happened to her. She's both scared by it and drawn to it. 9 years later, living in a safe modern bungalow with her new partner and baby, Vanessa says, I believe I was supposed to own the house for a reason. I'm not sure what, but I've still got the cage, and it still plays a big part in my life. Vanessa still hasn't been able to sell the house to this day. There you go.
Wow.
Yeah. Very, very interesting. We've got two more stories here, Mal, and these are interesting stories, to put it bluntly.
Okay.
And I used the word bluntly, ironically, in this first one. We go to Oregon, where Paranormal activity has spooked the Oregon's dispensary staff at one such dispensary. And by dispensary and bluntly, I mean the weed there, Mallie, the weed. Mm-hmm. Is the ghost of a dead pharmacist haunting a new dispensary in Oregon City, Oregon. There's a video out there you can watch for yourself at leafly.com. Patrons are swarming to 50 trees in Oregon City for more than just their amazing strains, such as golden lemons and mandarin cookies. Oh, actually, mandarin cookies sounds really good. It's a little late at night right now. They're looking for signs of an afterlife this week after news broke over the weekend that the 4-month-old cannabis retailer might be haunted. I might, if I were a ghost, I might haunt a dispensary.
That'd be kind of fun to mess around with people.
Yeah. Surveillance camera footage from sometime in August shows some weird things happening in front of the store. The normally clear footage fills with a kind of fog. I bet it does, Manager Jordan Brown said. Then a jar of cannabis seems to start moving of its own accord slowly to the edge of the counter until it tips itself off. I bet it all emptied then, Mel. Into a bag and then disappeared. Later on, a pair of scissors also seems to move on their own. Cashier Andy Gomez felt a presence in the room, he said, and shook up, reported the incidents to Manager Brown, who reviewed the footage and was also shocked. Frankly, he said, my jaw hit the floor, dude.
Did he really say dude?
He did say dude. He's quoted as saying dude. And this was the rest of the quote. And I'm not one to be like, oh, man, it's a ghost. Brown denies staging the video or altering it in any way. This is the rest of the quote. That video is 100% legit. We did not mess with it in any shape or form. Why would we lie, man? Not to mention, it's illegal to alter the state-mandated surveillance footage there at the dispensary. You don't want to do that. Brown said the video evidence corroborates months of other weirdness in the store, including doors locking people out of offices, strange sounds in the storeroom, small items being moved around, and orbs of light flying around like crazy. We've all had little experiences here and there, he said. Is it a ghost? I don't know. That was his quote. 50 Trees, Oregon City occupies the site of a former pharmacy, and the cannabis store mirrors the layout of the old pharmacy, something some people think it's the old pharmacist tidying up. I bet he is. Or the ghost of his cat pushing stuff off the counters. A local ghost hunter couldn't say 100% what's going on, but the staff of 50 Trees keeps security cameras on and in good working order, lest they miss the next paranormal pot activity. What do you think, Mallie? Who's haunting that dispensary?
I don't know, but it'd be funny if it really was a cat, because you'd be like, don't, and you're just watching the jar just kind of like being like tapped across the counter, like, don't, and all of it just goes boom on the floor and smashes.
That's right.
Like how cats do it with remote controls and stuff.
Little
like,
ghost kitty action. The cat's
yep, exactly.
But what would be really, really unnerving is if the kitty had like a little zigzag and it was just kind of, rolling one for himself. Those little paws. He fires one up. You just see a joint in midair.
That sounds more like you're taking acid than.
Oh, no.
Then there's marijuana involved.
No, it's just, rolling a little blunt for himself, just puffing away. Little ghost kitty. Just having a good time. Yeah, kind of like that. Exactly. And our last story, Mal.
Yes?
Oh, this is so sad.
Uh-oh.
So sad.
Do I need Kleenex?
You may want to get the Kleenex out for this one. So it turns out sometimes, Mallie, you can take paranormal investigating to work, and sometimes you can take your work to a paranormal investigation, but sometimes never the two shall meet in the middle. Have I confused you yet?
Just a little.
Well, in this case, it turns out if you search for adult videos, there are probably hundreds of racy Ghostbuster parodies available on the internet, right? Not that you've done that. Or have you?
No, never.
No, never? I won't say if I have or not. But a new online series will feature a group of porn stars hunting ghosts in real life with no scripts or sex toys necessary. It's true.
They have scripts?
And I didn't think they did either, but I guess they do. I guess there's actual writing involved in this stuff. The team, made up of 4 core members, is known as paranormal porn stars. Here, I thought I had an original idea years ago, and I guess I didn't. And they claim to be looking for answers to the age-old question, is there life after death? And if so, is it coming for us? I made that last part up. But will they but will they actually succeed in finding it? I want to read this one seriously, but I don't think I can.
Is it really bad?
It is. Founding member Lee Green first became inspired to create the group back in June after he and his brother Mitch moved into a new studio premises. The pair claimed to have noticed strange and unexplainable goings-on in their Walsall-based building, from bumps and bangs to fire extinguishers being thrown across the floor. And that was just during filming, Mallie. I'm kidding.
Boy, they really get into the art, don't they?
They do.
Their craft.
they're a little bit rough and tumble over there. Lee told Mirror Online, straight from the off, at certain times, there is an eerie atmosphere around the place and a variety of unexplained noises.
I like how you're giggling.
Well, everything's a double entendre in this story, I think. That's just me. But we just put it down to being an old building and continued about our business. And business, Mallie, is really good. I'm just saying. The first real incident of note occurred when I was in the building alone one day, he went on to say. I went and sat on the sofa in the changing rooms, and I heard a loud crash. I jumped thinking that somebody had let themselves in. I looked and I saw that the fire extinguisher had been thrown across the floor. In the coming weeks, when I was at the studio, footsteps were heard on the floor above when there was nobody there, taps turned on by themselves, toilets flushed on unmanned floors, and there were all manner of random out-of-the-blue atmospheric changes. The team continued to come up with bizarre ways to explain the incidents, but then one day something happened that Lee just couldn't get over. Are you sitting down, Mallie?
Of course I am. Okay, I'm lazy.
Good. Well, I am too. I mean, I haven't stood up this entire time. I'm going to use these words very carefully, Mallie.
Okay.
He explained, it all came to a head when I was working on the top floor. It was daytime, but I had put the strip lights on for extra light, and after finishing up, I went to turn the lights off. I went in the room and I heard a moan coming from the far corner. I bet you did, Tiger. I kind of didn't believe my ears and walked out and down the stairs. Then I heard the door on the top floor open and slam, and while I stood there looking at it, I heard each stair, one after the next, bump, bump, bump in front of me. Something was coming right at me. Oh, yes, it was. I couldn't see anything, and I had no equipment to snap a picture. Now there's a shock. What's his profession, Mallie? And he didn't have a camera. Yeah. But after hearing about 5 or 6 of the stairs creak, I shot off sharpish.
Shot off what?
He shot off sharpish.
Okay.
That's an expression, I guess. I was actually scared and didn't know what to do. Lee, a big fan of paranormal shows and movies, and his brother told his brother about the incident, and the pair decided to rally a few friends and see if they could track down the ghost. They called up porn stars Tindra Frost and Haley B, and the group got to work, and they claimed to have of course.
Got to work. I like that.
They got to work.
Yep.
Now, Mallie, let me ask you this. You hear some strange noises in an old building. Mm-hmm. You say to yourself, Mal, I got to find me some reliable paranormal investigators who are going to help me get down to business and find this ghost. Mm-hmm. Do you pick up the phone and call the Hedgehog and Johnny Wad?
I love their names.
I'm just asking. I mean, is that your first thought?
To be honest, probably not.
Probably not. No. So they called up porn stars Tinver Frost and Haley B, and the group got to work, and they claimed to have caught a variety of paranormal encounters on camera. Since we began making contact and investigating, we have caught a variety of ghostly voices, either on the spirit box or straight up disembodied, said Lee. Oh, Tinver Frost even has she has a Twitter account. It's at Tinver Frost, by the way.
Are you going to start following?
Boy, am I ever. Some of these include names of our team being spoken, children laughing, moans and screams, as well as clear answers to our questions. Like, how many more movies am I going to make? We have captured a curtain being pulled down, a wide variety of orbs. There are a lot of orbs on set, let me tell you, man.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I can only imagine.
Mm-hmm. And people being touched. Imagine that. People being touched on set, Mallie. The evidence is compelling, so much so that from the outside until experienced firsthand, you would have to say it's fabricated. But I assure you it's not, he went on to say. After completing their first investigation, the team realized that they all enjoyed ghost hunting so much, they wanted to turn it into a full-time hobby. Look at that. They're turning it into a hobby now. So now, we're armed with cameras, a spirit box, voice recorders, EMF readers, and more specialist equipment. They're traveling around the UK hunting the paranormal, Mallie. Porn stars are taking our jobs, Mallie.
Well, it's not like we get paid that much anyway.
Does this mean we get to take their jobs now, Mallie?
Yeah. Well, since I have a body image issue, I would not be taking their job.
No, you're not taking, you're not taking their job.
I don't think anyone wants to see me, so we're just going to leave it at that.
Well, I know nobody wants to see me. That's a given. And they're turning their findings into a show, Mallie. That's right. Porn stars are paranormal investigators, complete with special guest ghost hunters, which will be available on Amazon Prime soon. Oh, boy. Lee added, we've had so much fun and captured so much evidence that we've decided to turn our findings into a show, which is close to launch, if you know what I mean. As well as this, we're still actively looking for venues to investigate. So if anybody has a location, please get in touch. How about a local strip club? Just saying. To learn more about paranormal porn stars and their investigations, you can follow them on Twitter. They're out there. Just look them up. I believe it's called One Shot to an Investigation. I'm not sure. I have no idea.
This kind of reminds me of the what was it, the Naked and Paranormal or whatever that show was.
Yeah, they're Naked Investigator. Wasn't that Scott Grunwald's deal? Didn't he do? Naked
if it wasn't his,
I'm forwarding this story to Scott Grunwald.
Yeah, there you go.
I think he ought to get involved with this group.
I think so.
My God, there are plenty of salacious photos with this whole entire story. I think I'm going to keep.
They had photos with your story?
Yeah, I'm keeping this for later. I'm just saying.
Oh, jeez.
But that's
the thing I don't want to hear.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to disturb you with that image. I'll put that image over there for later. Paranormal porn stars, Mal. What's the world come to? I mean, not like that.
But you're happy. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, it's something else. So yeah, that's it. I mean, people are now taking over our industry. We get to take over theirs. That's just the way I look at it. So what new industry are you?
I'm glad they have, an interest in our little world, but.
Yep. You get to now pick an industry you want to go into, I guess, because this one is saturated.
Well, they definitely have a different angle. You're always looking for a new angle when you're trying to come up with a TV show, and they definitely found it. So
you want to talk about people who know angles?
Yeah.
Boy, do they know angles? Holy cow! There isn't an angle they haven't found. Well, that is supernatural news for this week. Coming up next, we have Parashare. We've actually taken a lot of our famous friends in the paranormal celebrity world. They won't be there for long because porn stars are now taking over, so they'll lose their job shortly. And I'm just kidding. They won't lose their job shortly.
You know what we should come up with? Paranormal and pregnant. They need one of those.
Paranormal and pregnant?
Yeah.
We're hunting for 2, paranormal and pregnant. Oh, that would be awesome. Mallie, you need to trademark that before we get off the line here, because someone's going to trademark that if they hear this show. Paranormal and pregnant. New on A&E.
Exactly.
Oh, my God. That would be awesome. Or an all-animal, like on Animal Planet, you could have like an all-animal paranormal team. When they all get scared and run away, you know you've got something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But have you noticed like an increase of stories with women having sex with ghosts and becoming pregnant? I think there's one story going on right now where a lady, she claims to be carrying a ghost child. I mean, that's a TV show in itself.
Yeah. I'm telling you, you could do like a little 13 episode series on Netflix. Yeah, a little paranormal and pregnant deal. Yeah. Little deal there. I'm carrying Casper's child.
Exactly.
Yeah, you could do that. Yeah, you could have fun with the deal. Yeah. Just saying. You're creating new genres here, Mallie. I'm telling you, you need to start trademarking this stuff before we get off the air. Start making yourself some millions before it dries up. Don't let the average listener that's out here listening to this stuff make the money before you do, Mallie. Telling you. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck there in Michigan, just wishing you would have made the money on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just saying. There's no off position in Mallie Fox's Genius Switch. There just isn't.
I don't know if you'd call this being a genius, but
there just isn't. No off position in Mallie Fox's Genius Switch, ladies and gentlemen. There just isn't. Just is not. So next in Parashare, we'll be listening to different paracelebs creepy stories, and also we've got some of your creepy stories coming up. Remember, you can also call in on our Voices from Beyond line and leave your stories 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Make sure you keep it to 3 minutes. If you don't, you can call back in again and leave the rest of the story, and I'll patch it together. I'm a good editor that way. And we have those coming up as well right after the break here on Parashare. Mallie, thank you very much for joining us again this week.
Oh, it was my pleasure as always.
And tell people where they can find you online.
Paranormalgirl.com.
There you go. Check out Mallie at
or
where?
Facebook.
Or Facebook.
Wherever.
There you go. So check out Mallie at paranormalgirl.com. We'll be right back with Parashare right here on the best in Paranormal Talk Radio. This is Beyond the Darkness.
Beyond the Darkness.
Welcome back to the best in Paranormal Talk Radio. This is Beyond the Darkness. I'm Tim Dennison for Dave Schrader. I want to thank Mallie Fox for joining us for Supernatural News in the first part of the program. And now we'll move on with Parashare. And we got a kind of an action-packed Parashare for this second part of the program. What we've done is we've taken a couple of your phone calls that you've called in to our Voices from Beyond line, and we're going to combine it with some of the vignettes that Dave's been putting up on Supernatural Shorts online on the Midnight in the Desert website, and give you some supernatural experiences from some of your favorite paranormal celebrities. So we figured we'd do that for Parashare this time around. And what we're going to do is we're going to start with the Perrins. Andrea Perrin and Roger Perrin, and we'll hear from them first. So here we go. This is Dave talking first to Andrea Perrin and then to Roger Perrin here on Beyond the Darkness.
Before me is Andrea Perrin. She is one of the daughters from the actual Conjuring case from the movie. But, of course, the real story is even a little bit more dark and twisted than what we ever saw from Hollywood, right?
Yes, much more.
And you've agreed to share a story with us. And any kind of story you'd like to share, paranormal encounter. What is one of the weirdest and most bizarre things that ever happened?
I think one of the most important things that ever happened when we were living at the farmhouse was after Ed and Lorraine had been banished from the house. My father threw them out, and my mother had a downward spiral because she didn't understand what was happening to her. And one night she came out of her room at about 11 at night and she said she was hungry. And I was thrilled because she was wasting away. So I walked through the completely dark house to go get some food for her in the kitchen. And in my absence, she threw a log on the fireplace, and then she heard laughter behind her, and she turned, and our completely dark dining room was utterly illuminated with candles and oil lamps and an entire family that we didn't know sitting at furniture that was not our own, with a mother cooking at a fireplace that had been sealed for more than 100 years when we bought the farm. And the woman told her children to go sit on their benches. It was time to eat. There were two men sitting on the other side of the table. One peered into the parlor and pointed at my mother and then nudged the guy beside him and pointed her out, and she was the ghost. And that's when it made sense to my mother that we were living in a portal cleverly disguised as a farmhouse, and that was her epiphany, and that was her healing.
Thank you very much, Andrea.
You're welcome.
All right, we are at the Michigan Paracon. Roger Perrin is the father from the famous movie The Conjuring. He was featured in that movie. You've got your own stories, your own experiences, and of course, we know that the Hollywood version is quite a bit different than reality. Would you tell us one of your experiences that actually happened when you lived there at that farmhouse?
Well, the biggest experience I ever had was one day I came home from my selling trip, and I walked into the kitchen and got something to eat, and I sat at the table, and my wife walked in and said to me, Roger, Monday is Labor Day. And I said, yeah, okay, no worry, I'll be staying at home. And then she said, well, that's not the reason I'm saying that. That remember, the kids go back to school the day after Labor Day, and they need shoes. And I says, oh, that's right, they need shoes. Can we do this tomorrow? I'm rather tired. She said, look, you finish eating, enjoy yourself. I'll take them over to Webster. We'll go to the Little Red Shoe House, and I'll get their shoes for them. And I says, okay, fine. So they took off. Well, they weren't gone 5, maybe 6, 8 minutes. And then I heard footsteps on the cellar stairs. So I looked into the foyer, and I didn't see anything yet until all of a sudden the cellar door opened. And it opened up about halfway, and there was like a veil or a cloud or like almost like smoke came into the foyer, actually hiding the front door. Now, from the foyer, you could go into the dining room, or you could go upstairs, or you could go into the kitchen. So as I sat at the table and I watched what was happening there, it was unbelievable. And then I figured it out, that the old lady, our old spirit, Mrs. John Arnold, was trying to get to me. She knew I was alone. She was trying to come in. So I just sat there and I stopped eating. I couldn't eat anymore because I just kept watching to see if she was going to come to look like a person and I could talk to. And I waited and I waited and I waited about 35, maybe 40 minutes, and I couldn't. I was, what's the right word, impetuous. I had no patience. So I just looked at her, looked at that way, and I said, look, old lady, either come in and sit and talk to me or just get the hell out of here. And she slammed the door and left. And the veil went out of the foyer, and I said to myself then, boy, did you make a mistake. You had no patience, you should have waited. And for the next 6 months or so, I kept going down into the basement and just saying, I'm sorry that I called you an old lady. I'm sorry that I mistreated you and so forth. She never came to me. She used to rub my back every day, and from that point on, she never did. So I don't know, maybe 6 months later, I got thirsty. I went into the kitchen, into the pantry, and I turned on the faucet and there was no water. I says, oh my God, something is wrong here. So I went down to the basement and I stood on the staircase going down, and I looked down, and sure enough, the old well pump, the big wheel, the belt was off and it was 5 feet away. So I figured somebody pulled it off of there and threw it across the floor. And it wasn't a floor, it was a dirt cellar. So So I decided I'd just go down and grab and I cleaned it off, and I put it on the big wheel, and I pulled it, and as I got up, the old lady just rubbed my back again. And I says, oh boy. I says, you're back. You forgive me for if you really forgive me, rub my back again, and she did. And from that point on, for the next 6 or 7 years, she was there for me every day, doing this thing on my back.
Very cool. Thank you, Roger.
You're welcome.
All right, thanks for that, Dave. In the second segment, we're going to hear from our listener of ours, Lydia, who called into our Voices from Beyond line. And then we're going to hear from a couple of former ghost hunters, Grant Wilson and Dustin Perry, as they tell us about their supernatural experiences. So let's do that without further ado. Here's Lydia, and then Grant Wilson and Dustin Perry from Ghost Hunters.
Hi, my name is Lydia, and my husband and I have kind of a strange paranormal story, but we have yet to meet anybody else that has a story that relates. When we first met, first night he spent the night at my house, we were looking through my sister's scrapbook. My sister killed herself. And so I'm showing him this scrapbook that's meaningful, and we start smelling the smell of campfire, like in my master bathroom where we're sitting on the floor. And it was isolated to about 4 feet around us, and couldn't figure it out. The first time I spent the night at his apartment, mind you, this is July, the neighbor downstairs, or like the manager guy, he thought my husband was burning his wood in his fireplace. And my husband was like, it's July. And so for about 2 or 3 months, people around us, and ourselves mainly, but every time we were together, we would smell this, and people around us started getting freaked out by it because they would smell it too. And again, about 4 or 5 feet, you'd walk out of it, nothing. Go in it, it would just be a very strong campfire smell. And we correlate it to probably my sister, since the timing of us first smelling it. We've had other paranormal things since, but after about 3 months, we did not smell it anymore. We kind of missed it. But at the time, it got very normal. Like, I started writing down every time it happens, but it got very normal. But, yeah, it was just a strange thing that no matter how many times we fight or whatever happens, we're always like, that smell brought us together. Like, there's a reason we're together. I couldn't even leave my house to go see him without smelling it and having to check all the stoves and double-check everything just in case if I was leaving kids at home. But yeah, I find it a cool story, for us. Like I said, we have paranormal things since, mostly all good things, I think, relate to my sister or other people that have died to us close. And, yeah, I would love to know if anyone else has ever had this happen. We haven't really met anybody yet. Anyways, thanks for listening. Bye.
All right, we are at the 9th annual Michigan Paracon. Grant Wilson, formerly of Ghost Hunters, is here. Grant, tell me, you've seen a lot of things. You've had a chance to investigate many claims of the paranormal. What's one of the weirdest encounters you've ever had?
One of the weirdest encounters I've ever had involved what I would call a doppelganger. There was a lady, a couple that called me in, right? And the husband was complaining that his wife was unpredictable, that she was maybe bipolar. And, I mean, we can all kind of identify with that. But she was very nice lady. I went into the bathroom, came out of the bathroom, and this lady comes up all mad at me because I took so long in the bathroom. But she walked off to the left. So I go off to the right, and here comes Jay and this same lady out of the kitchen. So I'm like, okay, here's a doppelganger, Jay. What do we do here? We kept going back week after week, and I finally was able to corner the doppelganger between me and the door to a room where Jay had the actual lady in the room. And I opened the door between them. They looked at each other, and the one in front of me disappeared immediately. No sound, nothing. It was like it was never there. One of the strangest experiences I've ever had, and I have no explanation.
Thank you, Grant Wilson.
You're welcome.
All right. We are here at the Michigan Paracon, and before me, Dustin Perry from Ghost Hunters International. All right, Dustin, you've had a chance to see a lot of amazing places in the world. Where would you say is a place you had one of the most profound experiences?
You know, I'm well known for all the ghost stuff, all the spirit activity. I've been to 27 countries. I've seen a lot of stuff, man. And one of the places that always sticks out to me as being very strange is in Indiana. Every time I go to India, some weird stuff happens. There was one night I was just driving through there after doing a college lecture, all alone, middle of the night, and it's the first time I've ever seen a UFO, and it was amazing to me. It looked like it just turned on in the sky right above where I was driving. It arched back and forth, red and white light, like a big eyebrow hanging up there, and then all of a sudden just shot off as fast as it could, and I had no explanation for it, and that's one of those things, you know, I'm good with spirits, I know how to interact, I'm thankful for the interaction. The alien thing just left me in awe, man.
So you never had an experience like that, and have you ever had one since?
I've seen just one more thing, actually, just last year, many years later. It was on the Mass Turnpike, coming back from a gig. I was doing a library gig, my buddy and I, and all of a sudden, he actually noticed it first. It looked like an old school like Tiffany lamp, very, very bright, much larger than anything else in the sky, right in front of us, and it shot off just a little bit, held its position, and then took off again. It's amazing. I think it would be crazy for us to say there's nothing else out there, because we can't even measure all that that exists. So there's something to it, and it really intrigues me.
Thank you, Dustin.
All right.
Pretty cool stuff from Grant and Dustin, and from Lydia. And now we're going to hear an interesting story about an Indian casino, and a question that I don't know that I should answer it without Dave. So I think we're going to hold off until Dave gets back to answer that. And then we've got some pretty cool stories from Jael DePardo and from Tim Shaw. And of course, we're going to hear from a listener named Emily. That's coming up right now here on Beyond the Darkness.
Hi, Dave. Hi, Tim. I actually work at a casino. So with that being said, you know, on the Indian reservation, we have a lot of things going on here lately, getting closer to Halloween, just 3 days away. Recently, when I was in the bar, I'm not going to say which casino, block it out if I did, but recently I was in the bar prepping drinks, and the soda machine tray actually flew at me when I was down there. Scared the crap out of me. Right away I knew what it was, because I'd recently talked to Tim about something, and like I said, you mention it, and for some reason things start to happen. Well, then right after that, I want to say about a couple hours later, I was entering the bar, and before I actually went in the bar, an ashtray flew across and hit the wall and broke, which again was odd, but I had coworkers in there who had seen it and told me all about it. I didn't really mention at the time that something happened to me prior to that, which I thought was interesting. I thought it was the end of it as well, but it wasn't, because just a couple more hours after that, I was walking down. I'm a drink server. I was walking down, and something, I thought it was somebody, it's a casino, I thought it was somebody walking really close to me. You know, I was actually pretty upset this happened. I had my shoulder be thrown forward, and I kind of spilled some drinks because we carry trays. And when I looked behind me, it was completely empty. Nobody was down that aisle. Nobody was down that road. Nobody could have walked that fast. I turned around with the full intention of giving that person a piece of my mind. And I looked like a crazy person because I turned around with, flipped my hair back, was ready to yell at somebody. And nobody was there. But that's not the end of it. There's other things happening, other very horrible things happening to coworkers that I work with, that they're going home with these things. But anyways, that's pretty much all I have for you today. It's good talking to you, Tim and Dave, and, you know, please give me some feedback on what you think of that. Could it be something maybe the casino took in that, you know, they do sin here, it is the place of sin. I don't know if it has something to do with that, or maybe someone's bringing something to work. Possibly me. Anyways, thank you for listening. I hope you guys are having a great day and a great time listening to all these stories.
All right, joining me now, Jael DePardo, and you were part of Fact or Faked.
Yes.
You've been, well, a part of many great shows, but you've got a story that you're going to relate to us regarding that series, and this blew me away.
Yeah, so we're at Paracon 2018, and a lot of people have been asking me some of my most memorable experiences out on the road and doing investigations. When I was working on Fact or Faked, we took a trip to England to investigate a case about a woman. We call her the disappearing woman, who claimed that she was being abducted by aliens. Now, to preface this woman was a very religious woman. She was Muslim, and from what I gathered, just being as religious as she was, it was kind of a strange thing that they didn't believe in regarding aliens. So this was she didn't have any motive to really come forth with this story. And it was actually anti her religious beliefs. So basically what had happened was that she was starting to have what she felt were like nightmares, but they were so vivid. And she would see this figure that was standing over them near her doorway in the bedroom. And it was like a very tall, large, looming figure, like a shadow. And then she felt like she was being taken away and put on an examining table where she was being poked and prodded. She then divulged that when she woke up, she had bruises on her arms, and she even felt some pain around her abdomen area, like they had been sort of examining her, and she didn't know what this was. So she thought it was dreams, but then it didn't make sense that she had these bruises and this pain. So it started to happen a few times, and it became so vivid that she expressed to her husband how afraid she was. And so he said, honey, I'm sure you're fine. It's probably just a nightmare. If you want, just to feel better, I'll set up a surveillance camera and in our room while we sleep, so that you can see that nothing's going on. So he set up a surveillance camera, black and white, had the time code on it and everything. And one night, he's filming them while they're sleeping. And this was like a large, heavy-set woman. And she's sleeping in the bed. And all of a sudden, she rolls over. And all of a sudden, it's like she dissolves into the bed. The sheets just shrink down and go flat, like no one is there. And it looks really strange. It's like, how would someone fake that, right? And so we went and talked to her about it. And the thing was, she was so distraught. She was crying, and she looked so traumatized. She was shaking. She said that after this happened, she started sleeping by tying her wrist to her husband's wrist because she was so afraid that they were going to take her away. And she just wanted us to help her so desperately. And again, she just didn't seem like someone who would have a motive to come forth with this story, because if anything, it was anti her religious beliefs. So we took the video evidence with us later and checked it out. Checked out the tape, and it had not been tampered with. We did several tests to see if we could recreate the video, and it was very, very difficult. So that case remained very perplexing to us. When we followed up with her later on, we found out that they had packed up and moved from the house. Not only from the house, but moved to a different country.
Now, you see her dissolve in this video.
Yeah.
But what even more kind of alarming is about 5 minutes later on the video, tell us what happens.
That's right. Sorry. Yes. So she dissolves, and about 5 minutes later, it's almost as if she rolls back into the bed and her shape comes back and she's under the sheets again. So she reappears after 5 minutes and she's under the sheets again, sleeping. But in her memory, it was like hours had gone by.
Unbelievable. Very cool. Thank you for sharing that. And you've got a new program on History Channel people should be watching out for. What is it?
Yes. It's called The Unexplained on History Channel. It's about conspiracy theories, history, historical artifacts. Super interesting. Check it out.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, live at the Michigan Paracon, Reverend Tim Shaw, one of my good friends. All right, Tim, now I just wanted one of your best, weirdest paranormal experiences. What have you got for me?
You know what? Recently I was invited to go and investigate the USS Edson, which is moored in Bay City, Michigan. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, Dave. I'm like one of these people that's getting really jaded by this stuff. So I went and I thought, well, nothing's really going to happen. Maybe we'll get a couple EVPs or whatever. So after doing some investigations, we're kind of like resting in this large deck. Probably we're just one level below deck. And I'm sitting there, and everybody's sitting around, and we're all kind of relaxing and just kind of chewing the fat. And the next thing I know, something is just like, I felt like something was looking at me. You get that creepy feeling. It's like that little old lady in the library that's kind of just peeking over the book at you. That's the way I felt. I turned, and through this hatchway, I see a dark, like what looked like a body, and black in the back. But the white, it was at the face. It was like a face. It was white. It was like pixelated, but it was white. But what kind of piqued my interest was that it moved slowly and like it was on rollers, and then went down the hatch. Well, you know, I'm going to be honest with you, Dave. You know me. If I was there by myself, I would have ran in the opposite direction. But you know what? I had people there, so I mean, I had to be cool. You know, I ran towards it. And before we go on, people out there, old fat bald men, such as myself, should not run after anything in the dark. And we had red light on, but you know, but I saw this. So as I ran, everybody's like, "What's wrong? Is he sick?" Whatever. People could not believe that I could actually move that quick. Ran through the hatch, leapt through by the knee knocker, got inside there, landed on the wrong foot, bounced off one wall, bounced off the other wall, just in time to see whatever this was turn and go down this other hallway. So I just ran around that hallway, and I go into this cruise berth. So I had a flashlight. Go, "Hey, who's in there? Come on, you know," because I'm thinking to myself, you know, oh, let's play a trick on Tim is what I'm thinking. So I'm looking around. There's nothing in there. There's nobody in there. So I come back, and I said, "Did you guys see this?" And of course, nobody sees it because they're all looking down. Everybody. The first thing that paranormal investigators have to stop doing is looking at meters. They start looking up. And I went, and I have to tell you, it was like a peak experience. So I'm describing him, and I'm talking to him about this whole experience, and one of the volunteers says, "Hey, Tim, we see stuff like that here all the time." I said, "Really?" There was a caretaker when the Edson was moored in New York City by the name of Paul, and he loved the ship, and he ended up dying aboard the ship. He passed from his life doing something that he loved. The room that I ran into was Paul's, where he died. That was where he died. And I was just like, holy cow. I mean, I thought at first they were pulling my leg, but I mean, I had asked more like volunteers, non-paranormal volunteers, and they all collaborated the story. So you know what? It just goes to show, just got to be a little bit more observant out there, I guess, like I was. Some luck, and guess what? You might get it. So that's my most recent, like, kind of crazy ass story, Dave.
Thank you, Tim.
Love you, Dave. Love you.
Hi, Dave and Tim. My name is Emily. I'm a big fan of your guys' from Bozeman, Montana. I was calling in to share a story with you about some crazy experiences I've had with shadow people. I know you guys talk a lot about on your show about like where people wake up in the middle of the night to see a shadow figure, and that recently happened to me. But I want to first share an experience I had about 7 years ago. I was still a teenager. I was living at my mom and dad's house, and I lived in the big upstairs spare room. And there was a half wall where you could see down into the stairwell. And I always had that light on because I don't like the dark. And one night, I heard footsteps coming up the stairs. And I thought it was my mom, because sometimes she would come up and check on me in the middle of the night. Well, at the end of the steps up the stairs, I didn't see my mom. So what I saw instead was a human-like shadowy figure crawling across the floor towards me really, really fast. And I was horrified. I couldn't move. And as soon as it got to me, it kind of rose up like it was going to jump on me. And I turned on my bedside lamp, and it was just gone. It was like it was never even there. And then, more recently, I've moved out of that house. I live with my boyfriend now. And I've always got kind of a strange vibe from his house. And one night I woke up, and in the closet, there was a shadow figure of a man. But this time, I didn't feel any fear at all. And I really, really think it was the spirit of my grandfather. And I think that he's my guardian angel watching out for me. So I've had a good experience with the shadow figure and a really terrifying, creepy experience with the shadow figure. Anyway, thank you guys so much. I hope this gets on air, but if not, it's all good. And I love the show, and keep doing what you're doing. You guys are awesome. Bye.
All right. Those are some good stories there. And now let's wrap up the program as we always like to wrap up Parashare with some black-eyed kid stories. We've got Susan Slaughter, formerly of Ghost Hunters, and we also have Nick Redfern, our favorite UFO guy. And they both have some very interesting black-eyed kid stories. Let's go to them now here on Parashare.
The Belvoir Winery, we were just here for the Strange Escapes event. Standing in front of me, Susan Slaughter from Ghost Hunters Academy, Ghost Hunters International. And yesterday during a talk, we discussed the black-eyed kids. And you told me a really terrifying story. Can you go ahead and share that with our listeners?
Well, yeah. I was surprised that was even a thing when I had that question asked if I've ever encountered the black-eyed kid or kids of sorts. I was taken aback because I did have a personal experience, and I didn't know that was like a phenomenon that's been going on. A lot of people have been experiencing. So at the time I was living in like South Miami area, Cutler Ridge, and I just moved into this new community called Cutler K, in this big brand new house that we had bought pre-construction. It hasn't been lived in before, brand new property. Since I moved into that location, I had been having a lot of, I guess, strange experiences there. But one most notably was one night, actually it was kind of around dawn. The sun was just about to come up. I remember my room wasn't very dark. And all of a sudden, something in me just woke me up. I just woke up. I'm sleeping on my side, facing the window of my room. And I feel like, if someone's turning in the bed next to you, like adjusting themselves. And I was sleeping alone at the time. As soon as I turn over to look at what's next to me, at first I saw what looked like the back of a child's head, like a little girl, nestled under my covers. And she had long black hair. And then when I closed my eyes to like readjust and be like, what am I seeing? I close my eyes, I open it, and all of a sudden she's facing me. And her face was just like bone white. And she had really like sunken features, and specifically her eyes. And I don't know if the eyes were there or not. I remember looking really deep into her eyes to see if I could see anything in there, but it was just like black, like soot black, like if you're looking into a dark hallway. And it wasn't like a skull, like sunken eye, like shadowy thing. It was just like solid black. Now I know people are saying, oh, well, they have like completely blacked out glossy eyeballs. To be honest, like I can't really recall if that was exactly what I saw, because she was only there like for 2 blinks and then disappeared.
Now, when you say she disappeared, she was under the covers. Did the covers drop? Did she was just there, and when you blinked and literally gone as soon as you...
She was under the covers initially, and then when she had reappeared after I like adjusted my eyes and she was facing me, I could only see her face. And then she was no longer underneath the cover.
Now, you've been having experiences your whole life. What was that like? Was it a moment of terror? Was it just a moment of shock and awe? How do you actually relate your physical feeling?
I said something to her, and I remember exactly what I said. And it gets to the point where, like, yes, because I've had a lot of supernatural experiences, and things have come to me before. I was really tired at the time, and I was like, I can't help you right now. Like, that's what I said to her, because I just didn't want to deal with it. It was just like, at that time, I was just so taken aback. It was too early in the morning. I was out pretty late that night. I don't know. I think I was working or something. And so I turned, when I saw her face, I was like, I'm sorry, I can't help you.
And then poof, gone, huh?
And then gone.
Very cool. Well, thank you very much for sharing.
Yay.
All right, we're at Shooting Star Casino Paracon 8, and with me is famed author, researcher, investigator, Nick Redfern. He's got over 48 books on just about every aspect of the strange and supernatural. And Nick, One of our favorite stories from our listeners absolutely eat up are black-eyed kid encounters. And you've got one for me. Can you share that?
Well, yeah, I mean, the black-eyed children phenomenon is like a really weird one. It's kind of parallels some of the Men in Black stories. You know, they dress in black, they look pale, they knock on the front door late at night, and they don't look entirely human, obviously, with these solid black eyes. They almost look like a human-alien hybrid. Now, in several of my books over the years, I've written about the black-eyed children, and when you write about something, you get feedback from the readers. And one of the strangest stories I got was actually from a guy in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, which is actually more well known for the Mothman story. And he told me this one experience he had of a black-eyed children knocking on the door late at night, Saturday night, and obviously, like most people, you know, you're watching TV or something, 11 o'clock, and there's suddenly this bang on the door. Well, what on earth's that? Who on earth's that? Goes to the door, looks through the spy hole, and there's these two kids there, pale skin, black eyes, black hoodies. And what was really weird, he said that he felt compelled to open the door, almost as if he was being mind-controlled or hypnotized to open the door, which he actually did. And he saw the door opening with his arm, but he didn't feel he was completely himself in control of what he was doing. It was as if he was being forced to do it. Now, he opened the door, and unlike most of the cases involving the black-eyed children, he actually let them in. For the most part, people don't let them in, so we don't know what their agenda is. But he said that what happened was that he was sort of pushed, not physically pushed, but almost sort of intimidated to walk back towards the couch, sat down on the couch, and they kind of just stared at him. And as they were staring at him, he started to feel weak and tired, and his energy levels started to drop. And it was like a diabetic crashing. You know, after missing breakfast, missing lunch, 9 o'clock at night, they're starting to get the shakes and feeling ill and sick. That's exactly how he felt. But he was not diabetic, didn't have any conditions at all. And he said that with hindsight, at that time, he felt as if the black-eyed children were literally kind of eating him, almost like digesting his life force, his essence. And suddenly he was able to break the spell. And they vanished. I mean, when I say vanished, they were literally gone. And he said it sort of took 2 to 3 days to get over this feeling of just waking up feeling weak, tired, no energy. And finally, after a couple of days, he came back to normal. But he told me that he genuinely felt that the experience was quite literally they were feeding on him in some way, almost like a psychic vampire. And that's an important story, not just because of the graphic nature of the experience, but also because it demonstrates possibly the agenda as to why they want to get in the house. It's not to kill us, it's not to steal our property. It could literally be a case that they are sort of parasitic entities that are feeding on us.
Fantastic. Thank you, Nick.
You're welcome.
Now, how's that for an ending for Parashare? A couple of black-eyed kid stories to wrap up this edition of Supernatural News and Parashare from Susan Slaughter and Nick Redfern. That's kind of a good way to wrap it up for the weekend. And I'll tell you that that's kind of a neat way to do it. Tomorrow we've got a great show. It was recorded live on the Jericho Cruise, and I got to tell you, we got to thank Chris Jericho and Barry Bloom and the people at Six Man, Trey Vetter, and everybody at Six Man. We had an awesome time this weekend on the Jericho Cruise, and I got to tell you, folks, there's a lot of hype about vacations out there and the type of vacations that you want to take, but the Jericho Cruise, the Chris Jericho Rock and Wrestling Rager at Sea was the vacation of a lifetime. And I'm not telling you this because I'm a wrestling fan or anything like that. This vacation was a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Whether you're a wrestling fan or not, whether you're a rock and roll fan or not, the energy aboard was just something special. And I think even Dave, who wasn't a wrestling fan at all, I think even he had the time of his life on this cruise. And I'll let him tell you for himself when he's back next week. You're going to hear this show tomorrow with with Beer City Bruiser and Cheeseburger and Mandy Leone and from Women of Honor, and I think you'll be impressed. It was a good show. We had a great show there on the Spinnaker deck, or Spinnaker Lounge on the cruise, and we had a great time. And it was nonstop energy from the beginning of the time we got on the ship to the time we left. And man, I tell you, it was life-changing. It really was. And we were setting history because there had never been wrestling before on a cruise ship. There had never been that combination before on a cruise ship. And I'm still smiling from ear to ear, and as we record this. So I'm hoping Chris does it again next year, and I just want to thank him personally on the air. I want to thank Chris Jericho. I want to thank Barry Bloom. I want to thank Six Man for putting together one heck of a cruise and one heck of a vacation. It was the vacation of a lifetime, and I hope they do it again next year, and I hope they have Beyond the Darkness back for a second year, because we had an absolutely wonderful time. And had a wonderful time meeting all of you who listened to the podcast and came out to tell us so and tell us how much you enjoy our work here on Beyond the Darkness. We love you guys and had a great time meeting all of you and hanging out with you on the cruise. It was such a great time. For Dave Schrader and for Mallie Fox, I'm Tim Dennis. Join us again tomorrow to hear this once-in-a-lifetime podcast, and it was something special. We'll see you again tomorrow on the best in paranormal talk radio. This is Beyond the Dark.